So could you give are you comfortable giving an example? I don't want to put you on the spot.
There's so we recently, my family was on a trip and we went to a special place, and it required an early morning get up to go because we were seeing the sunrise on a volcano. And during that time, I have a son who was like, when can we leave now? When can we leave? And so I was feeling like, here we are supposed to enjoy this great experience, and can we leave? And my husband was just doing it because I wanted to. I felt like he was doing it because I wanted to. But I was hurt by that, but also feeling like maybe I wasn't seeing things from their side.
Right.
I just don't know how to.
Yeah. And thanks for sharing that. And I can tell it was a difficult situation for you. So, but I think there is a side of it where we do, and this is what we're going to talk a bit about in Immeasurable Compassion, is this idea of empathy. Empathy is where we are able to see things from the point of view of another person, to kind of put ourselves in their shoes and really feel what's going on for them. And I think that is a key part of how we kind of work with others in life, those people in particular that are in our front row, that we have to be attentive to their needs. And sometimes it does require us to put our own needs aside, because we see that if we are genuinely concerned about them, then we need to attend to what they do. Now, nonetheless, it doesn't mean that we become, again, like a doormat and we never have any ability to do anything we want, because that's not usually helpful for the other people either. I mean, if you have somebody who you simply keep buying into, this is what we mean by codependency, right? Where you have, even to that degree, where you have people who have addictions and you just keep buying into what they say they need, and you never do anything to address them taking responsibility for their lives in different ways. You could imagine having a child and you just continue to tie their shoes until they're like 40, Well, they may like having their shoes tied for them, but it doesn't teach them any responsibility of how to be in the world,
Right.
So that's not a kindness any longer. That's not kind of any sort of empathy. It's become an abuse of that. So once more, we talk about these two wings, and these are important to have, the sort of soft-hearted compassion and love and care and concern, but the wisdom to know what needs to be done at any particular time. So, I mean, I can't speak to all the dimensions of your particular situation, but I would say there needs to be maybe, again, a balance of those two. Some understanding that, maybe it required, before everyone's, and yes, there's the rush to get up to the mountain or the volcano to see the sunrise and all of the things that are entailed in that. But maybe it required, just a moment to say, check in with everybody and see, if in the end nobody else wants to go, well, then maybe it's not so important that you go. And then rather than it becoming a difficult experience of being up there and feeling like nobody else wants to be there or whatever. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that we have an opportunity at any time to sort of check in and try to develop more wisdom, so that then we're not solely working with this other side of it. We also can balance it with what needs to be done.
Yeah, that's the part. Because I was trying to see it from their side, but we're there in the moment, and it was not something I could change at that point. So,
right.
And I was trying not to get upset myself, because I wanted to enjoy it as much as possible, but
right.
I was aware of that, and I run into those kinds of situations, and they're
right.
difficult for me.
And if you've all agreed as a group that this is what you're going to do, and that was your thing that was on your list, that you wanted to go there and make sure you enjoy it, then at some level you don't need to attend to the feelings of those others, because you can be in the moment and try to enjoy it as best as you can, regardless of whether they're enjoying it. That's their choice to not enjoy it, or to feel like they need to go down rather than continue to stay up there. I don't know. I mean, I think, this is where we can't be like this hypersensitive to the needs of others to the degree where it just becomes kind of ridiculous. Because once more, there's not a lot of benefit to them either if we're doing that. This is like, keep buying into other people's just kind of self-centeredness. I'm not sure that that's what, is really helpful either at that point.
Well, and I was wondering if I was having self-grasping or ego-grasping in that moment.
Well, we all are, I think. I think we have to be kind to ourselves, Lori, in that regard, and see that we're going to have some of that operative to some degree. And even if you could sit there and as you're enjoying it, say, oh, may my son enjoy this as much as I do, whatever, generate those sorts of thoughts. Then you're kind of like sharing it in the moment and not letting it become something that makes your mind tighter and have more, bad feeling about the way that he's reacted or whatever. I think that there's ways to work with it. We just tend to get really tight in our own minds and think that we push through based on our own habitual patterns, and we have to challenge some of those and see whether they're really helpful or not. Do they really give us more spaciousness in the moment, give us more ability to react, or I guess a better word is respond more creatively to what's going on, rather than reacting more habitually? So again, I hope that gives you a few things to kind of work with there, but and this is the reality, of our lives, is that we are going to be disappointed. As I mentioned, those people in the front row are sometimes our worst enemies, because they know how to get to us worse than a lot of the other people that are just bursting into the theater, and trying to upset our show. They know us quite intimately. And this is very true, right? A lot of nodding heads, I think, that yes, we know that they're the people who we sometimes are harmed by the greatest because of that proximity. And we have to be willing to sort of examine that and not, feel too bent out of shape and too sensitive from our own side to that, and recognize that those people in the front row are not perfect. Our view of them through the lens of attachment is that they're all wonderful and delightful and delicious, and we want them to stay that way. But they also have their own foibles, their own faults. We have to be willing to accept them as who they are and not expect that everything's going to be perfect. It's just part of the nature of the beast, I think. But how wonderful that you got to go up there and see the sunrise. You can rejoice in that. So these are tough things to work with sometimes. Yes. What's your name?
Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. I don't know if I'm going to be able to ask this correctly either. It's kind of a little twist from feeling disappointment from loved ones or strangers, the equanimity, but more of the compassion.
Mm-hmm.
The compassion and equanimity, I understand. It's a matter of, for the people in your audience who are very close,
Right.
Is there such a thing as too much compassion, as to where you feel the suffering a little too much?
Right, right.
And so the question becomes, you want to be compassionate, and there isn't a separateness, but yet that